Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Deep River Friends. It's a beautiful day to be here. We need to start getting together every Sunday like this. Although we're not real good at that. We've been on the road for 33 days in just a grueling RV adventure, and actually it was pretty wonderful. We made it all the way up to Vermont and back, and we just got back a couple of days ago. So nice to be back here at Deep River. We do miss that when we're not here. Glad to have everybody here today. I see a few fresh faces, and my buddy Dean is here, so glad to have him. And if you are a visitor, please feel free to take a card from the seat back in front of you and fill it out, and we'll get in touch with you and answer any questions you might have about Deep River and about Quaker faith or anything else that we can answer for you. The flowers today are given by Angie and Jeff Cash, and this is in celebration of their granddaughter, Hadley Cash. So, very nice, Angie, thank you. I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank Mark for the beautiful music that we hear every Sunday. I think sometimes we take it for granted, but we have a really talented piano player and organ player and music director, and I just want to say thank you. We appreciate you. Also with me today is my friend Andy Bowersox. Andy is the executive director of Energize Ministries here in the Triad. And you may remember him. He has spoke with us before, so he'll be bringing a message a little later on and tell us what's going on in his world. Let's see, birthdays. Coming up, we have Grace Johnson on the 26th and Andy Borum on the 27th. So happy birthday to those folks. There's a lot of announcements in here. Does anybody want to go over any of these announcements? Or Susie?
Good morning, everybody. You will notice that our fall festival is next Saturday, and we are in need of some volunteers. We are in need of just about 5 or 6 people that will come and man a game during our game time. And they'll be simple games. It's nothing that you have to have a college degree for or anything. You just have to be there, set it up every time that the children play. We also need people to come with their trunks. You don't have to decorate your trunk. You can leave your trunk just as plain as day. But if you have some candy, that will be just fine with those trunk-or-treaters around. And if you know some trunk-or-treaters, some children, and they're not always trunk-or-treaters, if you know some children that would like to come, invite them and come with them. And if you want to bring something, some kind of soup, let me know so we won't have too many. But make sure you bring something. You can bring a dessert, you can bring a drink, you can bring some chips, you can bring some crackers, whatever you feel like contributing to our fall festival, we will be thankful for. Then the next thing is our chicken pie sale. We are in need of every one of you that I see in here. Every single one of you. We need rollers. We need dough makers. We need pies baked in the oven. We need pies taken out of the oven and put on the tables. We need whatever you can think of. We can find you a job to do. No matter your age, no matter your skill level, there'll be somebody there to teach you. Now, on the November 17th, we'll be cooking those during that day and taking the chicken off the bone. And if you just want to smell it and be part of it, that's just really the best day to come. Oh, but it smells so good. And we and, and we'll finish that night at Quaker Women if we have any more to do. I hope we do, but we'll finish doing it that night. It takes a while. Then on Friday, gravy will be made. I think I have a team enough for gravy making. And on Saturday, that's when we're going to need you. And if you have an hour to spare, if you have the whole from 8 o'clock till 2 o'clock-ish, that'll work. Whatever you've got to spare, we'll take. And we will train you, and we will feed you. Every time we ask you to come, we'll feed you. And we've been saying all along this, we're going to try this because we've lost so many of our wonderful members who would help us, and we've lost a lot of the volume of people that we've had. So we're cutting down on the volume that we're making. If we do okay, then we'll get brave, and in the spring, we'll do our 250 that we are so proud of doing. But we are going to need your help. If you've got extra time and you think I can put you to work, just call me.
I've got something to add to that. About a week or so prior to that, we will be asking for donations. So, you know, for milk and
Your name will be on this list.
milk and butter and flour and all this stuff we need. So either Susie or I will be calling you about that too. So.
Dwight.
You notice in your bulletin, we also have a work day, the same day you're going to be eating candy. So if you come in the morning, go ahead and get your breakfast. Kind of help us with the work day. We're going to start about 8 o'clock and we'll work until means till we get through. We hope around 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Trimming tree, getting out limbs, putting out mulch, that sort of thing. So we need everybody to show up and do that. And we'll have some equipment here if you don't have any. And just come and have a good time of fellowship.
Thank you. Might be a good idea to put out a midweek text message to just remind everybody of what's coming up for the weekend, because it sounds like a lot going on, and then with chicken pies coming up too. The Quaker ladies are really we're running thin because of because we've lost folks, and so anything you can do or we can do to help out would be greatly appreciated. I know our chicken pies are a Deep River tradition, and we don't want to see them go away, but it takes a lot of work to get it all done, and so appreciate anything you can do to help out there. All right, so are there any other announcements? Well, let's open our hymnals then to number 108 and sing "Come Christians, Join to Sing." Let's talk for a minute about folks on our prayer list, and a rather significant number of folks. Pat Banks, Matthew and Jessica Christie, Joe Huff, Ann Jordan, Chad Short, Mary Gay Borum, Marcia Davis, the Idle family, Tracy Kuntz, Max Seifert, Claire Wilson, Bob and Mary Ann Cherry, Carol Dunn, Alan Jones, Gracella Sanchez, and Katie Gibson Stone. Do we have any updates on any of these folks?
I have an update on my sister. Good morning. Marcia fell backwards down 5 steps this week and broke her pelvis. They were not sure if they were going to be able to do surgery to repair it and decided not to because of her pacemaker and some medications. Got an update this morning that she's not eating, she's spitting out her medication, and she's in a lot of pain, so she's fairly heavily sedated. She can't swallow right now, doing very well, so they're going to possibly do a barium test. They did a lung scan, and there seems to be some fluid developing in her lungs, so they're trying to head off pneumonia. Just a very, it's just heartbreaking. Just pray for my family, and especially for her son Rick, that's dealing with this every single day. I'm sure it's breaking his heart, just like the rest of us.
Gay, sorry.
Sorry.
Gay and Ken, I see you both here. I'm so glad to see you. I know, Gay, you've had quite a go around, and so has Ken. So if you feel like it, yeah. Can you give us do you feel like giving us an update? No.
I want to thank everyone so very, 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 very much. It has been quite a couple of months of health issues for me, just one right after the other. Ken had his ankle surgery, and we got through all that, and about the time he got well and walking really good, then I fell apart. First thing was I had this surgery on my leg, and
Glad to see you, Gay.
I spoke to Sandra Jones a few minutes before I came this morning, and it's been a really long week for Sandra and Alan, but she said that Friday and yesterday she thought Alan was a little tiny bit better, and he had been able to communicate just a little bit, and she's hoping that today he'll be progressing, a little more. I think they're going to move him to Adams Farm, maybe tomorrow or the next day. But she appreciates your prayers and thoughts, and I'm sure she'll appreciate your continued thoughts and good wishes for them.
Good. Well, let's remember to keep Alan and Sandra in our prayers.
And John, I'll just give you an update on Mom too. We do appreciate your thoughts and prayers. You know that she's in hospice right now, under hospice care at home. They've started to increase their visits over the last week. This week they let us know that she has pneumonia, and so right now we've got her on antibiotics and just trying to monitor her breathing and see how she's going to be able to fight that one. So it's been a tougher week this week, and we're coming on a visit again Tuesday, so we'll see how they think that the pneumonia is progressing.
I know you guys have had some tough times, and just want you to know that we're praying for you and wishing for the best there.
Bob continues to do well. We had visitors this week. Sloan came by and brought us a basket full of goodies, and I enjoyed them too. And she got to see Bob. But then we had a lovely visit with Randy and Susie and their new little puppy Sig that's about this big on Friday, and it was another really good visit. But Bob continues just to get stronger, and as Gay said, you can feel those prayers. And we continue to get lovely cards and gift cards from this wonderful church family. But I really need you to kick in those prayers Thursday. Bob has his next immunotherapy. He did not get to have one in September because he was in the hospital. And they now say Bob's blood work, etc., is good enough. And so we need to get these done for good. So we need these. So hopefully just a few more, but it will be Thursday morning starting about 11:15.
Thank you. Any other updates or concerns?
I think I'm loud enough. So we were on our trip for 5 weeks. It was great and wonderful. We're gone again next Sunday, and this time we are headed to Florida because we originally were going to go to Gatlinburg and Nashville. That's you. But my sister's boyfriend, whatever you want to call them, they're in their 60s, so they've been together forever. But anyway, he just found out he has prostate cancer. So we have found out that it is contained within the prostate and has not spread throughout. So on November 9th, he is getting an operation. They have decided to take his prostate out. Still will be. Hopefully, it'll be done robotic, so hopefully he'll get to come home that day or the next day. He has 4 sons, which are kind of spread out through the country, but a couple of them are going to be there, and we want to be there for Vicky. So we're going to head to Florida. He'll be heading to Florida and be with them. But if I can ask you to pray for his name is Bob, so that we'll pray for Bob and that this surgery will go through. And then 3 weeks after that, they're going to do another full body scan to make sure they've got it and everything's gone. And hopefully life will be great again. So if you will pray for Bob and Vicky.
I have to admit, Bob and I are the same age, and he and Vicky, my sister-in-law, have been an item for 3 or 4 years. And we prayed for Vicky, for God to bring a man to Vicky that would, look after her and put up with her. And he sent Bob, and it turns out that Bob has become one of my best friends, and he's just a great guy. And so I guess we all have little things that test our faith from time to time, but when I found out Bob had prostate cancer, I felt bad about it, but I knew he didn't have the definite results yet, and so a lot of prayers went out, and then word came back that he did indeed have it, and it was advanced, and so I have to admit that I was a little bit disappointed, disappointed in God and the outcome of that. I have since spent my time apologizing to God, and you know, there's always when you're dealing with God, there's always a bright spot, and the bright spot is that he went this past week to find out if that cancer had spread throughout his body, because it is an advanced stage, and the word was it had not spread at all. It's all in the prostate. So, you know, little victories and appreciation for God and his abilities. The scripture reading today is from Psalms 40, verses 1 through 5. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined to me, and he heard me cry. He also brought me up out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon rock, and established my steps. He has put a new song in my mouth. Praise to our God. Many of us will see it and fear, and I will trust in the Lord. Blessed is the man who makes the Lord his trust, and does not respect the proud, nor such as turn aside to lies. Many, O Lord my God, you are wonderful works which you have done, and your thoughts toward us cannot be recounted to you in order. If I would declare and speak of them, they are more than can be numbered. Do we have kids today? Yeah. No, you don't have to. The choir? Oh, we have the choir is singing today. I didn't realize that. That's wonderful. Okay, look forward to that. was beautiful. Thank you. The power of open worship. I'm going to read what's in the bulletin here, but I've seen it so many times I never read it anymore, so I'm going to read it. It talks about open worship, and the communion after the manner of friends. In silence, without rite or symbol, we have known the Spirit of Christ so convincingly present in our quiet meeting that His grace dispels our faithlessness, our unwillingness, our fears, and sets our hearts aflame with the joy of adoration. We have thus felt the power of the Spirit renewing and recreating our love and friendship for all of our fellows. This is our Eucharist and our communion. So, in the manner of friends, let's observe a few moments of silence. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's nice to have a speaker. I got to tell you what happened, and well, when I knew, well, first of all, I'm ministry and council, and the members of ministry and council sort of rotate Sundays for when we don't have a pastor for being on the facing bench and kind of looking after things. And I was pretty sure I had a pretty good sermon right here. Well, the closer I got to the day that I was going to have to produce this sermon, the more anxious I got. And then it just finally dawned on me, I'm going to make a mess of this. So I thought, I just don't think I'm quite prepared for the sermon that I had in mind. And the main reason is I went out on Thursday night for Boys Night Out. All you guys know, I'm sure you all go out on Thursday nights too. But one of my fellow club members, there's only 3 of us, I mentioned this to him, and he said, and he mentioned things from the Bible that addressed what I was going to bring up the question of, and it's already been answered. So I'm like, okay, I don't really have a message. So I've got to go back and work on my message, and eventually, one day, I'm going to actually deliver the message. But in my period of anxiety there, I rushed to the phone, and I called the one person that I knew could bail me out of this. And Andy, even though this is his busiest time of the year, and he's been going like crazy, he was very gracious and agreed to come and deliver a message for us today. I told him to keep it brief because he has a tendency to blah, 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 blah. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Andy Bowersox, and Andy is the executive director of Energized Ministries here in the Triad. So.
Well, I appreciate John's honesty in that introduction. I'll spare you the rest of the details he gave me about that. But I did get a whole 48 hours notice to get up here in the midst of, if you guys remember, I was here not too long ago, and I lead a ministry that provides encouragement, refreshment, and recreation for pastors and their families. Some of you may know this is Clergy Appreciation Month. Our ministry operates nationwide, and so we have had a very full schedule in the last, what's today, the 22nd? I think in the last 18 days, we have had special events in Alabama, in Florida, in Tennessee, in Virginia, in North Carolina. Maybe that's it, but that's 5 large-scale, there's been 13 large-scale events over the course of the last 18 days in 5 different states. So my message today is going to be as much directed to me as any one of you. You saw in the title, it's an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Does anybody remember who said that? You guys knew more than I did. John reminded me about that when I gave him that. I didn't even know. I had to look it up to make sure, but that's correct. And so there's really 4 things on my mind that I want to try and weave together in the next couple of minutes. One of those is that old expression. I only ever knew that my grandmother said that for ages and ages, but somebody reminded me about it this past week, and it's a very good fit for our ministry. The other of those 4 things comes from the 10 Commandments. The 4th one. Does anybody remember the 4th of the 10 Commandments? It has to do with today, for what we celebrate as the Sabbath day. Somebody said it right. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. The next item comes from a verse in Isaiah that says, "They that wait upon the Lord will renew their strength." Somebody mentioned that. These are all sort of a collection of my thoughts over the last week. But I heard somebody say, talking about that verse in Isaiah, that They that wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. And this guy that was talking said, for years, I never really considered that we all have a finite amount of strength and energy. And the Bible reminds us that waiting on the Lord helps us to renew that. This book right here, I think I mentioned this last time, I tell my kids at least once a week, this is the recipe for success. This is the playbook for life. It's not always easy, but if you read this book and you study it and you put into practice the principles that God has laid out for us, this is the way to success. One of those things is remembering the Sabbath day. One of those things is waiting on the Lord. One of the things is what Ben Franklin said. It's not in the Bible, but an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So the fourth thing that I just want to share with you directly about our ministry is we live in a very hard spiritual environment. We are spiritual creatures, and it is exhausting to lead people spiritually. I know that you guys are in the midst of pastoral search team, but I just want to encourage you when you find that person to allow periods of rest, to allow Sabbath day times, and to get into that rhythm. When I was younger, my father was a machinist, and he worked hard, and I lived in a blue-collar family. And so when somebody went to work, that means we're actually physically laboring. I grew up working for my Sunday school teacher who was a contractor, and it was hard. I remember coming home and almost passing out on the floor from carrying buckets of mud and nailing things and carrying lumber. And so all my life up through after school was, when I thought about work, it was physical activity, and it was hard. And then and a little bit of a confession, I had friends that their parents had white-collar jobs, and they would talk about their dad coming home from work and being so tired. And I thought, how hard can it be to just sit there and write, some of you guys are laughing, write notes or talk to people or wherever. And as I grew into the role that I'm in now and realizing that mental exertion is just as exhausting as physical exertion. I didn't know that when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. We learn things when we grow, right? And so the more you grow, the more you learn. Well, when I started spending my time with pastors and other clergy members and recognizing that working in the spiritual realm, it's more exhausting and more demanding, and it's a fight to lead people, to encourage people in their spiritual lives, which that involves every one of us. It's very, very hard. I didn't know that. I thought the physical was hard. I thought the mental was hard. But then realizing that when you're fighting for people, when you're counseling, when you're encouraging and talking about things that matter in all eternity, it is exhausting. I think I mentioned this last time. In the spiritual world, we fight an enemy that's constantly, the Bible talks about walking around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And so we see these things showing up. So how do I tie all this together? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The Bible says it. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. That is a rhythm that God set up. God worked hard when he was creating the earth. He worked for 6 days, and then he rested. We get this from Genesis. To establish those patterns and allow Sabbath. When you guys get to the point that you're ready to hire your new pastor or to bring him on, encourage him to take time for rest as he ministers to each of you through hospital visits, through sicknesses, through all kinds of other elements, for delivering the message week after week, for dealing with the politics of the church. All of these things, they are exhausting. And without rest, bad things happen. Burnouts, demise, failures. I think it's funny when I talk about reading this book and the ancient wisdom that comes from studying the Word of God from centuries and centuries. The Bible lays that out. Remember the Sabbath day. That might be kind of a funny command back in those days. But if you study now the benefits of rest and how rest helps your creativity, how rest helps your cardiovascular system, how rest creates better moods, and there's so much advantage to that one single little command. The Bible's filled with commands that have tremendous value and tremendous proof that we now have from science in ways that have been discovered. So the rest is a big part. I heard somebody say rest is a radical act and we don't think about that very often. I love to work. I absolutely love being productive day after day. It's hard for me to rest, but I do recognize the benefits of it when I take time to do what the Lord's asked us to do, to establish those rhythms of rest. Oh, and then just the general part of tying this back to pastor appreciation. We love our ministry. I told you we serve all over the nation. We love encouraging people to care for their pastors, helping them with, educating them and engaging them with practical reminders. When we first started this, I felt a little goofy not realizing how important that recreation part is. I told you we focus on encouragement, refreshment, and recreation time. I didn't realize how important that is until I really started to study these principles of rest. So, not just in your pastors or when your pastor comes in the hopefully the near future, Mr. Ministry of Counsel, but I would encourage you to adopt those principles. Some of you are probably like me. You like to work. You like to be productive, but the Ten Commandments are there for a reason. They all have tremendous value. Maybe some other day we'll talk about some of the other ones. But today, just remembering the Sabbath day, remember what God intended for it, and put it into practice in your own lives. Thanks for having me again a couple times in the last few months here. So.
And you may see him again. No, but I appreciate Andy coming. He's always available when I need him for anything, and so just appreciate that. As we go out today, just remember to think what a beautiful day in October this is. Enjoy the sunshine and the colors of the trees, just amazing. Against the Carolina blue skies, sometimes I'll just stand and just stare for a while. It's just beautiful. Let's get our hymnals. Which one is this, Mark? Yeah, we're going to do a hymn. I don't have it here in front of me, but thank you very much. 284. As we go, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace and faith, so that you overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit.